everybody. I am out in New York today in front of the St.Lukes Theater on 46th Street, where Anthony Wilkinson's brand new comedy, My Big Gay Italian Funeral, opens June 1st. Anthony also created the hysterical comedy, My Big Gay Italian Wedding, and was the associate director for ABC's One Life to Live, where he earned 3 Daytime Emmy Awards. He is also a 4-time recipient of the Directors Guild of America Award. We are about to go inside now and meet Anthony and get the inside scoop on his latest creation. So here we are inside the theater of where My Big Gay Italian Funeral is going to take place starting June 1st, 2013. And alongside me here is the creator of the hysterical comedy, Mr. Anthony Wilkinson. Nice to see you.
Pleasure.
Thanks for being
so
here
much for
today.
coming here.
Oh, thank you. So tell us about the new comedy.
Well, it is the spin-off to My Big Gay Italian Wedding, which has been around now for 10 years. It opened in 2003 in the Village, and what started as just what might have been a 6-week run turned into 10 years on and off, and now playing in over 20 different cities around the world.
Congratulations.
Really awesome. Thank you. And everybody keeps asking me what's going to come next. So they're like, "You're going to write My Big Gay Italian Divorce?" And I was like, no. But I did want to write. What happened was when my father passed away in 2009, it was like a very hard time for the family. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, there were so many things that we found and discovered, and as a comedian you try to find the funny moments to get through the hurt,
Right.
and then it was those kind of things that you just sit there and say, you can't make this stuff up, and you have to write this down. So I took a lot of those really, really comical moments, and I turned my next piece into something that I know everybody's going to relate to, gay or straight, because it's really about like family and crazy families and forgiveness and grudges and.
But you just found a way to make it funny.
Exactly, exactly. So the father dies, and everybody comes together. And what we discover that we don't know in the wedding is that, well, we allude to this in the wedding, but Anthony has a brother that is not in the wedding because they haven't spoken in over 10 years.
Wow.
And it's a gay brother. So they're forced to be united at the wake. And that's the first time they see each other in all this time. And that's one of the big storylines that takes place. So it's very interesting to see how that all plays out. And then there's the aunt that don't get along with sister, you know, it's all that stuff. All those family dynamics that come to fruition once somebody dies, you know. And I think it's very cool. I have a lot of really funny characters, and a lot of the same funny characters from the wedding will carry over into the funeral.
Okay.
So we get that same dynamic. So if you like the characters in the wedding, of course you'll like them in the sequel.
Now, have you casted yourself in Funeral?
Of course. Who else is going to play me?
Obvious question.
Right. So you look at my resume, it's like Anthony plays Anthony, Anthony plays Anthony, Anthony plays Anthony. Pretty simple.
And you are absolutely no stranger to writing, because you actually started your career off with my favorite soap opera, One Life to Live, on ABC as a writer, and then you progressed to the associate director.
Yes,
Good for
yes,
you.
Yes. Yep. And I went to school for writing at NYU, and I always wanted to write. I mean, I went to One Life to Live initially to write, and I started as an intern writer, and then immediately a job opened up in production. So it wasn't where I saw myself, but I went into that. And it was great because it gave me such great experience behind the scenes. So you really, I think it's very valuable, especially when you're creating anything in the arts, to see all sides.
Right.
And so doing that for 14 years was very, very beneficial for where I am now. But I was doing theater while I was working at One Life to Live. I used to do the two. But once we got picked up for a full run back in 2009, for My Big Gay Italian Wedding, that was when I left One Life to Live.
Wow.
So, and I knew I had to pursue what I always wanted to really do.
Well, the show was fabulous because I watched it throughout the 90s. I watched it when Marty got raped by Todd and Powell Lord. Like, I still remember that stuff, you know. You can't make that stuff up.
Yeah.
So, but that show did earn you 3 Daytime Emmy Awards.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
What was that like? Because Susan Lucci only won 1 out of her entire career with All My Children.
Well, you know, you're part of a team that wins an Emmy. So, you know, it's an amazing experience. I remember the first time I held it, I was like, is this mine? You know, it was really an incredible experience. It was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. And also 4-time recipient of the Guilds for Directors.
Directors Guild Award. Yeah, that was it was just so cool to go to LA and sit like in the same room with Steven Spielberg and all these cool directors, and so that was
Wow.
it was a great time in my life.
So how come you never got casted in One Life to Live? Do you like the acting part?
I do. I think because I always did, when I was younger in college, I always did stand-up. So even my writing and all the shows that I do are all comedy. So I don't think I ever considered myself to be a soap actor. Not that I was ever asked, but I mean, it's definitely not my shtick.
Comedy's your thing.
Comedy's my thing. Comedy's my thing. I want to make people laugh. I don't want to make people cry. So, although the funeral might do both, but yeah, it's definitely. I've always felt there's a certain rush that comes from, especially with live theater. I don't think I get that so much from a tape segment, but when you are live in a theater and you hear people laughing, I can't even begin to tell you what that feeling is like. It's just a wonderful feeling.
Wow.
So, and I think these shows are a great way to project out such a great energy, because it gives people the opportunity to come somewhere and just forget everything and just laugh for 2 hours and just step into another little fun world.
That's awesome.
And I think that's what a lot of people need. You know, who wants to go sit and cry for 2 hours?
They could turn on daytime
television.
So what is it that you love about this business? Like, what made you want to do a second production of My Big Gay Italian
something?
Yeah.
I think it's just that like I said, I've always just loved live theater, and I think the business itself, well, first of all, one of the things that happens in this business in particular is when you're in a theater and when you work with a company, especially this size, 16, 14 people, that group becomes like a family. It's instant. It's just instant, because when you work that close together, you have, there's certain things you share by putting yourself out there on stage. So between rehearsals and then backstage, and then you go out for drinks, and you really, you
get attached to the people.
Absolutely. And this already, I mean, even new people, like they come in and in a couple weeks they automatically feel comfortable. And so I love that dynamic. I really appreciate that dynamic, because there's a certain comfort level there.
It's a family here, basically.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to keep that. So, I always, even like when we're casting, I always look for people who are obviously talented, but people who are going to just enjoy it and have fun with it.
Exactly.
Because those are the kind of people because when you have that kind of synergy, it comes to life on stage.
Absolutely.
And you have a good product.
And it kind of spreads too.
It spreads to the audience. That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. So, and that's another thing that comes with theater that you don't see with live television or, behind. I mean, television was incredible. I mean, we used to tape 80 pages, 100 pages a day.
Wow.
But I mean, the people in the control room usually wanted to kill each other. And the people on set wanted to kill each other because there was so much pressure, and it was like, but we went for drinks there too. But that was.
Well, there was always somebody getting killed on One Life to
Live.
Live.
Yeah, One Life to Live had a great family too. But this is a whole different world.
Yeah.
This is a whole different world, and I'm very happy and proud to be where I am now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Wedding is actually opening up in Hong Kong this October.
Yes, and it played in Edinburgh and London, and I saw it. Only place I saw it internationally was in France, and that was no words. I would say probably one of the top 5 most memorable moments of a lifetime.
Now, do you cast for London?
No, I do
so
nothing.
they do it.
Basically, anybody can go to Samuel French and license the show. And I've signed an agreement with them so that anybody could, and most plays are like that.
Right.
So you can license the show. There's also a control thing, certain people you can micromanage. I choose not to, because I want people to have, especially with Wedding, there's so much creative freedom you can have as a director or as a producer, and I want people to put their own spin on it, and make it their own, especially for their own town or their own city.
Right.
Which obviously they did their own little thing in France, and then I heard what they did. I mean, played in Wisconsin, I think. Wisconsin. They played in I forgot the name of the town, but it was in Wisconsin, and it was in it just opened. It's opening in North Carolina, Greensboro.
Was it Louisville?
No, it wasn't Louisville. Fountain City.
Oh, okay.
Fountain City, Wisconsin. And then Greensboro, North Carolina, and it played in El Paso.
Wow, so it's really just spreading like wildfire. You must be so excited.
I love when I get a Google alert, casting now in Omaha. And it's like, Omaha.
Awesome deal.
Yeah.
So what would be the next stop after funeral?
My Big Gay Italian Midlife Crisis. No, I'm making that up. I don't know, but that might be.
That would be good. Listen, men are men, and when they get to a certain age, that could work.
That could work. No, I don't know. I mean, I think it'll depend where my actual life takes me. Because, like I said, I mean, when I wrote The Wedding, it was because I really had a fantasy about getting married, and at the time, gay marriage was not what it is even today. And even though there's still so many struggles with it in this country, in 2003, it wasn't even a thought.
No, now it's come such a long way.
Absolutely. So to have that, and so that was a real challenge, and it was a real fantasy to want to get married. So it's a real story there. And the funeral comes from a real, I mean, it's fiction, but it stems from something.
From inner emotion.
Exactly. So whatever comes next in my life will probably channel the next my big gay Italian something. Because I'll always be big gay and Italian.
That's never going to change.
So that'll never change. The next word will change.
So coming from New York and going down to Dallas now, which is where you're currently living.
Yes.
How's the transition going back from New York to Dallas to New York?
Well, American Airlines is a lovely airline. I have to give them a shout out because they have a great loyalty program, and if you fly the same airline all the time, they do take care of you. So what started as hell has now become actually not that bad.
No.
I mean, it's basically like so many people travel for work all the time, and I just basically Friday or Saturday get on a plane and then come back on.
In a couple hours, you're here or you're there.
That's it. It's like taking the Long Island Railroad if you think of it that way. I mean, if you're out all the way in, Huntington or or even further in Suffolk County, you would sit on the train to go to New York.
At least for an hour and a half or so.
Exactly. I mean, it's a little longer than that, but
with those stops. That's what
with traffic.
nerves.
Yeah, with traffic. But you get to the point where with the airlines, you could just show up and check in and just kind of fly through, and then so it's not that bad.
Being a New York native, was it like a shell shock to go down to some place like Dallas?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was.
There's nothing like New York.
Well, no, there isn't. And you know what it is? I think being a New York native, especially if all you know is New York, you realize. I always knew I had a New York accent. I didn't realize how bad it was.
You just added gay to it.
Exactly. So it was like gay. So yeah, I didn't really blend, and I still don't. But I met some wonderful people, and it's actually a nice place to live.
Wow. So what got you into this whole working in theater and working with One Life to Live? Like growing up, I mean, who were your inspirations to want to get into show business?
My inspirations? I love Bette Midler. I did.
Why did I know you were going to say that?
Bette Midler. That's the first. I didn't know you were going to ask me that, and that's the first thing that came to my head was Bette Midler because I remember when I was a kid. Oh, I just loved her. I just loved her.
I loved her in Beaches.
Loved her in Beaches, but I loved her in her comedy days. Because I loved her. I mean, Beaches definitely was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But I remember like with those people and Down and Out in Beverly Hills and Outrageous Fortune, all those kind of slapstick comedies. So I remember as a kid just watching those in the I'm going to say this is the 80s. So yeah, I mean, it was like just watching those kind of comedies. And I was attracted to actresses like her, Lily Tomlin, Goldie Hawn, all those big comedic actresses back then. Whoopi Goldberg, then.
Oh gosh,
yes. And it was that kind of comedy.
Right.
That used to get me, and I used to, so maybe that was it.
Okay. Have you ever done like stand-up in theaters and things like that?
I used to do stand-up.
What's your biggest audience that you've ever had, you think?
My big gay time wedding, 2009, when we workshopped it at the St. George Theater.
Wow.
It was 2,000 people. That would be the biggest, yeah.
So doing stand-up and being in front of that huge crowd of people, what's it like to have to remember everything you want to do? Like, how do you do it?
You just, you just be yourself. I think the thing about doing comedy is you just have to, you can't try too hard.
Yeah.
I think, and one of the things I always was, somebody, I don't remember, somebody smart said this, so it clearly wasn't me, but it was, somebody said, when you're in a restaurant and you're telling a story about something that happened to you and you make everybody laugh, that's what you need to do on stage. You need to take that same story that you told at a table and just say it on stage. You don't need to try so hard, You just have to be natural and just, maybe exaggerate a little bit. But it's that kind of stuff that makes, I think, people really laugh.
Excellent. So, as a writer, do you ever get writer's block?
Yes. Absolutely. And my solution to writer's block is, because I don't think it's good as a writer to force yourself to write if you're not in the mood. So you have to, and I think I've probably, and my boyfriend probably relate to this better, if something comes to me and I feel something, I have to write it. So for example, with The Funeral, which is the most current, I wrote Act 1. And I wrote it when I was away. And that's usually when I do most of my writing because it's just when my head is clear and I feel like a sense of, And I wrote Act 1, and I didn't know what Act 2 was. I didn't know where I wanted it to go, and it just kind of went away for a while. And then I would read it, and then it just wasn't coming, and then we went to Maui. And on the plane, I was reading it.
It comes at the most inopportune times.
Exactly, and I rewrote Act 1, and then wrote Act 2.
Wow.
Then I read it again when we were on the beach, and I rewrote. So then it had I pretty much spent 10 days in Maui polishing and rewriting and putting together.
Can I tell you, as a talk show host, that for ideas and interviewing guests, I have a pad in the car, a pad at my desk, and 5 at home.
Yes.
Because you never know where something's going to come to you, and if I don't write it down now, I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah. And the iPhone is great for that. At the gym, when you're at the gym and you're sitting there doing something, it's like, oh.
When I texted you, I saw it. It's like, oh, he wrote back in blue, so that's he's got the iPhone. So I totally understand what you're saying.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, it comes at the shower, the gym. Usually, I think when you're in a relaxed state of mind.
Yes.
When you're stressed about something,
for me, it's the bathtub with the candles and the bubbles going.
Oh, perfect. I want that now.
But you know what? I keep a pad on the side of the tub, and I just dry off and write down what it is.
That's very smart.
You never know where you're going to need to write something.
That's very true.
Always be prepared. So how long did it take to write Wedding?
Wedding was written in 3 days.
Really?
Wow.
2-hour show in 3 days.
But it literally was, if I tell you, Jason, nonstop. It was literally it was in my head, and I didn't take a phone call. I didn't talk to anybody. It was just I lived and breathed that world for 3 days, I was there.
Wow.
And it just
it was so meant to be.
Yeah, and I mean it's had a lot of it's metamorphosized a lot over the last 10 years, but I think now it's at its best because it's been polished and tweaked, and all those lull moments have been cut, and all the strong moments have been heightened.
And it's still popping up everywhere. It's going to be in Hong Kong, and who knows where.
It'll be fun.
So June 1st is actually the previews for my big gay Italian funeral.
Yes.
And then starting the 15th, you can actually buy the tickets to see the show.
You can buy the tickets now.
Oh, you can buy the tickets now.
Yeah, previews are an open audience. Yeah, previews are
Excellent.
June 1st, 2nd, and 8th, 9th, 15th are all previews. And then opening night is June 16th, and you can buy tickets for that too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So how can people get in touch with, who do they call it, the box office?
Telecharge, yeah.
They can get tickets
Yeah,
now.
and then starting June 22nd, and open-ended will be every Saturday night the wedding, and every Sunday night the funeral. Wow. So if you're in town, you're coming into town, you can make a whole weekend of it. You can come see the wedding on Saturday night,
and then
the
see the
funeral on Sunday
the
night.
very next day. So
Yeah.
get it all in there close together.
Perfect.
Anthony, thank you so much for doing
pleasure.
this today. I had so much fun. You're
Thank
such an
you.
entertaining
Oh,
character.
please, thank you.
So be sure to tune in to Anthony Wilkinson's brand new comedy starting June 1st here at the St.Lukes Theater on 46th Street. Come down and see it, get tickets, and I thank you at home for watching as always. Thank you to Anthony once again, and we will see you next time. If you're going to be in the Riverhead area and would like to be part of our live studio audience, all you have to do is write for tickets. Please include your name, address, and daytime phone number. Email us at thejasonshow@yahoo.com.